The Barefoot March was written by Henry Holland, but do any of you know who Henry Holland is? For many of you, Henry Holland is just another name of another person on the planet. But for me, he's an example of surviving, an example of living, an example of going against all odds. I have the privilege to say that I know Henry Holland, a Holocaust survivor.
I was going to a high school in Czechoslovakia, and then when the Hungarians came in, the high school was closed because it was in Ukrainian language, because most of the population in that area is Ukrainian, except for the city itself where we live. As the Hungarians came in, anti-Semitism came in with them.
After it happened, the Jewish youth my age had to drop out of high school. Nostalgia filled many of the older people who remembered the Austro-Hungarian Empire with better expectations. But for the Jews, the results were disappointing.
You just hope every day, every hour that something isn't going to happen to you. It's something that stays with you.
Henry became a labor camp prisoner where he was forced to do hard work under inhumane conditions with not enough food and harsh treatment.
We would watch our guards when they were having their lunch or whatever. Each morsel as it traveled to their mouth because we would have liked to have some of it, We would visit garbage dumps to see if we can find something there, and stuff like that. I tried to eat raw food, Some of the things would go down okay, but the one thing I had most difficulty with, and I could never swallow it, was raw potatoes.
What happened to your family? Were you?
Well, I had my parents and two brothers, and they were deported in May of 1944.
Unfortunately, Henry never saw his parents again. With the years, he realized he was prosecuted as a Jew. Not only was he outlawed, but also not wanted, abused, and sent to a labor camp. And others were sent to concentration camps.
And that they were trying to kill us. It was just a matter of time when it was going to happen. If you lose your home, your family, you lose the way of living that you have been doing for, I was at that time 22, 23 years old, up to that time. You don't know what's waiting for you.
Henry said that not only did he try to avoid the guards, but at times to please them and to try to carry out the orders so he wouldn't get in trouble and be punished much more often.
Sit on the floor, tie your knees like this, and put a shovel in between. Another tie down was with your hands would be tied, and they would hang you on a tree, by the hands. Stuff like that. Essentially, the company that I was in had about 200 some people, and we had about a dozen or so guards. Some of them were okay, some of them not okay. Well, they're pretty bad,
How did you escape?
It's not as important how I escaped, it is more important why I escaped. Well, in my case, I had been barefoot by that time for about 3 months. This was October, and in the mountains there, in the morning, as I would, be getting around or whatever, the puddles were already getting, ice on top. So I knew that unless I would get somehow a pair of shoes, I couldn't survive the winter without shoes. So that was my final reason, so to say, for escaping.
How is your life today impacted by your experiences in the past?
Well, if you'll hold it just a minute, I'll bring down something. Just read it.
What I cannot forget. 65 years later, the survivor recalls his reflections about the Holocaust by Henry Holland.
Before Henry created What I Cannot Forget, he wrote The Barefoot March. This book made me feel so much grief, pain, and confusion about how many evil things in the past harmed good people like Henry.
And to live under those circumstances, well, I don't wish it on anyone. Until about 2 or 3 months after I was liberated, the only thing I kept thinking of was revenge. Revenge on the people who committed this to us. But slowly you get away from there, and you don't forget, but you soften, number one. Other interests take over, making a living, etc. The Holocaust did nothing good for me.
Today, Henry is a loving father, a happy brother, and a faithful companion to his wife Laura. Together, they share a good life full of love and mysterious art. Between each line in his artistic designs, we can sense Henry's thoughts, feelings, and memories of the year he was a labor camp prisoner. The most amazing thing about Henry, believe it or not, is his capacity to love. I asked him if he had any resentment against the Hungarians or the Nazis, and to my surprise, he said no, not against the new generation. Henry Holland, thank you for sharing your amazing story with us.